Hello everyone, my name is Ilda and today I will be presenting you the transformation of society in regards to the unipolar transition, globalization, digital technology and the importance of knowledge. We may start with the Cold War, the period in history beginning at the end of the 40s and running through approximately 1989 and 1991, which was characterized by a period of bipolarity, where the differences between the two superpowers, the US and the USSR, and their desire to expand their power and influence led to focused conflict such as the Korean War from 1950 to 1953 and the Vietnam War from 1959 to 1975. Perhaps the most critical moment in the Cold War was in October of 1962, in what is most commonly known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was the 15th of October of 1962 when the United States learned that the Soviet Union had installed military outposts armed with a nuclear arsenal in the island of Cuba. The creation of UN after World War II served as an important role in the arbitration and moderation between the nations, effectively helping to avoid reaching a peak that would lead to a third world war. Soon after all this, the United States of America developed alliances with capitalist countries that had similar interests. Their pact was formalized with the founding of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 1959. Some years before the release of these organizations in 1944, a meeting of 44 allied countries was held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, USA. It was there that the new World Economic Order was born as a result of the creation of two institutions, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Demographic explosion without precedents. From 19 to 1950, there was a growth in the population of over 860 million people in spite of the millions of deaths suffered in both world wars. The incredible growth experienced since then is due to the diverse factors such as medical advances, the reduction of infant death, and economic growth. Demographic growth and technological advances in the areas of communication and transportation have accelerated the globalization and transculturization processes. The Cold War has also had a great effect such as the space race, which led to the first artificial satellite in the history into space, Sputnik 1957. The United States responded with an aggressive space program that reached its climax with the landing of the first man on the moon in 1969. Returning a little bit in time and talking about the third world countries, those who were not willing to participate in the Second World War, we have to talk about the creation of the Arabic League in 1955, which consisted of 7 founding states: Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and North Yemen. This was an antecedent of Pan-Arabism, a movement in which one of the most important events was the establishment of Israel in 1948. The most crucial point of Pan-Arabism was lived when Gamal Abdel Nasser, president of Egypt, decided to nationalize the Suez Canal, triggering a British-French intervention that led to the War of the Suez Canal. With the victory of the Egyptian forces, the creation of the Arab United Republic occurred. This model was then dissolved in 1961. These new countries aspired the creation of a third route, reivindicating themselves as new and independent countries, now as autonomous players in the international scene. The origins of this movement can be traced back to the Bandung Conference from the 18th to the 24th of April 1955. The conference gathered together 30 nations, many of which recently had ascended to independence. The conference concluded with a declaration in which the values and principles of the movement were established, highlighting cooperation, mutual respect, and denouncement of unwanted intervention, equality of races and people of the world, and a respect of the sovereignty and integrity of the nations. In 1967, the Six-Day War occurred, in which Israel conquered the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai Peninsula, inflicting a hard reversal on the interests and ambitions of Pan-Arabism. Egypt changed its rhetoric with the swearing-in of a new president, Anwar Sadat, in 1970. Its conflicts with Israel cooled down and eventually culminated with the signing of a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel in 1979, in which Egypt became the first Arab state to formally recognize Israel as a legitimate state. As a result of these negotiations, Egypt was expulsed from the Arabic League, rejoining the League in 1989. And Anwar Sadat was assassinated in 1981. A year later, Israel returned to the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. All these geopolitical changes debilitated Pan-Arabism to the point of relegating it to an ideology and terminating its period of influence in the political climate of the Middle East. The Cold War was almost coming to an end. Perestroika and Glasnost came into existence. Perestroika proposed the restructuring of the economy, and others, being Glasnost, a proposal to recreate a free political system with openness and transparency. They didn't work out and eventually led to a series of revolutions which led to the end of the more than 40 years of communist government. On the 9th of November 1989, amidst a series of peaceful protests, and the East German government officially announced that the citizens of Berlin could travel between the East and the West without any major problems. On March of 1990, free elections were held in Eastern Europe. For the first time since its inception, the old communist regime, the Social Democratic Party, lost the elections in the landslide, giving way to a new government. In 1990, the three Baltic republics, Estonia, Lithuania, and Lithuania, unilaterally declared their independence from the Soviet Union, setting a precedent for the rest of the Soviet Republic states. On October 2, 1990, Iraqi troops crossed the border and rapidly seized control of the small country Kuwait, occupying its principal military installations and government offices. This act was denounced by NATO, who, after trying to dissuade Hussein and not finding a response, approved a military operation that consisted of 34 countries, led by the United States of America, to free Kuwait and expulse the occupying troops. The coalition troops began the counteroffensive on January 16, 1991, with a large arms and infantry campaign. It was on February 28, 1991, when Iraq finally recognized defeat, leaving Kuwait free of its invader. On December 21, 1991, the leaders of 11 of the 15 Soviet republics met in Alma-Ata, Kazakhstan, where they finally formalized and ratified the creation of the Commonwealth of Independent States, officially recognizing the dissolution of the Soviet Union. 4 days later, on December 25th, Mikhail Gorbachev symbolically signed his resignation as leader of the political entity that virtually had ceased to exist. With the fall of the Soviet Union and the absolute end of the Cold War, the world witnessed a new transition in history. The disintegration of the communist bloc put an end to bipolarism and left a great void in power that began to be filled by the United States of America. This is how unipolarism started, the concentration of power in one, the United States of America, which was considered the major player in the international affairs. As such, the United States stands as the country with the strongest economy and military capacity in the world. Being such a figure of power gave motives to others to try to damage them, mostly through terrorism, which according to the FBI involves violent acts or acts dangerous to the human life that violate federal or state laws and have the intention to intimidate civilian population. The event most remembered in relation to this theme is the terrorist attack of the Twin Towers in New York on September 11, 2001, an event that rerouted international politics of the United States and its allies. As a result of these attacks, the American giant launched an invasion first of Afghanistan in 2001 and later in Iraq in 2003, a conflict that eventually toppled the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein. The digital era, which came with the invention of diverse technologies that have revolutionized our lives, is a period characterized by technology, which increases the speed and breadth of knowledge turnover within economy and society. The release of Internet in 1989 marked a profound change in education on labor and personal level, becoming a monumental platform for converging information of any type. It also began to be one of the most used mediums of globalization, process where there is a tendency of business, technologies, people, or philosophies to spread throughout the world, or the process of making this happen.